vaccine.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. We are live. We are
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KLT.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat Big Wednesday. And most Wednesdays, I get the distinct honor of having a tremendous individual. I mean, there's not enough superlatives in my limited language to describe this gentleman to my right, Larry Powell, Sir Lawrence of Powell, Powell of good power to the people. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you, Alan. It's always good to be with you. I look forward to Wednesdays. You know, we get a chance to laugh. We get a chance to learn. We get a chance to listen. We get a chance to do a lot of things.
And depending on how long I talk, a chance to cry. I mean, is it true that you, during one of my tirades, in one of my rants, that you ordered a pizza and had it delivered and ate the whole thing before I finished?
I think I had time for 2, but
that's the rumor going around here. That's the urban legend here.
I love it. That
you did that. That's all right. I'm trying to break Castro's record.
Yeah, that's going to be tough to do.
It was 6.5 hours. But how about Paul? I'd rather compare him. What am I doing? I'll compare myself to Paul of the Bible.
Yeah.
Remember when he talked so long, the guy fell out of the window? Guy was sitting up in the window.
Wow.
Now, this is the Apostle Paul talking. And he went to sleep. So when you guys go to sleep when I'm talking, just say me in the same breath, the Apostle Paul and Alan Autry.
Yeah.
Man.
Well,
but I can't bring you back to life.
No.
I mean, you die, you fall out of a window with me.
Sometimes I'll risk one eye to watch. But
all right, folks, got that out of the way. But our hearts go out to the people in Florida. Hurricane Idalia hit with full force. Is it a category 3 or 4?
3 the last I saw, but heading toward a 4, I think.
3's bad enough.
Yeah, it is.
They hit the Gulf Coast there, and there are reports of obviously catastrophic damage to structures, but there's also deaths confirmed there. And anyway, and this thing just came out of nowhere. Usually they get, those meteorologists can kind of see one coming.
Yeah. This hit faster than most do, and we usually have a little bit of warning, so you can do some prep. But now
and it transformed, didn't it, Larry? Yeah. It had like a gain of function deal on it, that it went from like, nothing to worry about, to bam,
this thing accelerated. It's like it skipped a category. Went from 1 to 3, and that kind of thing. Well, it was crazy.
Well, Laura Fisher, one of our loyal listeners, I know she's from Florida, and we have listeners from Florida, viewers from Florida. Our hearts are with you. Hunker down, stay strong.
Good news is has weakened to a 1, so that's good.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. I guess it's going to go through Georgia as well, and South Carolina. It's going to get some of this, of course, not as badly as the Gulf Coast of Florida, but bad enough. Those winds 130 miles per hour. My goodness. That's
I've been in 60-mile-an-hour winds and thought this is intolerable. Double that and more.
The strongest wind I can think I've ever been in. I was in Chicago, getting ready to play the Chicago Bears. We got there on Saturday, and I'm walking down Rush Street, and I heard the wind in Chicago, the
Windy City,
and the wind was blowing so hard that I remember distinctly, like it was yesterday now that I'm talking about. I could lean forward. Literally, it seemed like my face was like less than a foot from the sidewalk. I was still upright going into the wind, the headwind. And it was the most bizarre thing. There was a lamp. I reached over and grabbed the instruction. I think it was a crosswalk.
I can picture that.
Yeah. And I'm just going, I'm going to see how far I can go down with this. I'd never experienced anything like that.
Oh.
See what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I hope they don't put me in the game tomorrow, because how do I throw into this wind? I'm inaccurate
I
enough
need to be going with it.
then I'll be 50 yards over their head.
Yeah.
I didn't have much of a touch. Larry, I'm going to venture into something that I hate when people do, and we're going to talk about politics entering the Jacksonville shooting here a little bit later, along with the subject we talked about last night. We do prepare for this show. I know with Larry, it always looks like he prepares, and sometimes it doesn't look like I prepare, but I do. But usually, I'm the first one to criticize somebody bringing politics into a catastrophe or a tragedy. And in this case, I'm going to, because of how I feel it's going to benefit the people in Florida right now. Okay? What I mean by that, if you're going to have a catastrophe of this magnitude, you're going to need federal help, state help. You need all the help you can get to rebuild, to rescue right after. And no better time for that than a presidential race, because they're going to be tripping over each other. They mean the candidates, President Joe Biden, DeSantis, all of them, to say who can get the most aid as quickly as possible to these people. Now, I'm not going to question their motives. I don't care what their motives are. I just want to see the aid get there quick, and get there with a sufficient amount of aid to save as many lives as possible. You see where I'm going with this, Larry?
No, absolutely.
So, and I don't know if you would necessarily get that in a non-election year. I mean, go get this. It's going to make me look good. Make sure these people get that. I want to make me look good. I don't care. I don't give a rat's behind right now.
Isn't it nice when the right thing is done regardless of the motive?
Regardless of the motive. You're hungry, starving to death. I don't care what hand hands me the sandwich.
Yeah. I'm going to eat it.
Yeah, I don't care if it's somebody I hate, love, or in between.
Yeah.
So, and again, politically, I think you'd have to be very naive to say that DeSantis now has a chance in the political season to show stellar, strong leadership. That's a tremendous platform to have right now. Now, the reason I'm not so cynical about DeSantis taking advantage of this politically is, as governor, he's dealt with it before.
Right.
And done a great job, don't you think?
I think he's done really well, yes. Yeah. He doesn't shy away from tough questions. He doesn't shy away from tough solutions. And I think he's done a good job of highlighting that there is an answer for things like this.
Right. And politically, when he's trying to catch Trump and distance himself from Ramaswamy, it doesn't hurt to have CNN there covering you. And I tell you, I saw his address to the people. It was strong. DeSantis exuded everything at that press conference last night on this hurricane that I feel he lacked in abundance during the debate. Now, I know it was a different setting. I get that. But he's got to find a way to translate that strength, that calmness, that confidence that he's going to get the people of Florida what they need. You see where I'm going with this? Transfer that over to communicating to the American people what they need and how he's going to get it there. The people of Florida, he's been able to get something very, very unusual. And that is the trust of the people of Florida that they have a governor that's going to function. And compare that to California with the wildfires here and all this flooding that went on, with how they feel about Gavin Newsom.
Being governor is different than running for president. And I think running for president requires you to get your feet under you. And I think that's part of what he's doing right now, is figuring out what does it mean to run for president as opposed to being governor. They're not the same messages. They have similar themes, obviously, but they're different messages, because you're now messaging to the heart of people for hope, for future, for things like that. And I think he's got to get his feet under him completely. This is the kind of thing that also helps him to do that.
Don't you think, Larry, because you touched on it just now, that in terms of preparing for the office of President of the United States, I don't know if you could ever be prepared unless you've been there before. If Trump gets reelected, he'll probably be the most prepared president ever to enter the office. Why? Because he served for 4 years, whether you like him or hate him. I'm talking about knowing what levers to pull, knowing how the machine works. Unless you go there, unless you've been there, Biden was there as vice president, but still he didn't. He was so ill prepared to having the buck stop with you. People say that, but the buck doesn't stop with a senator because they're part of a 100-member body. The buck doesn't stop with a congressman. There's 425 members of the House.
Yeah, 420.
But when you're a governor or you're a mayor, in the straight, as close as you will get to having a buck stop where you're held accountable, there, all eyes are looking on you, that you have the power in you. Head of the Office of Education.
Well, it's administration versus council. That's the concept. And council has cover because they've got other people within it. And they don't make the final decision. A group does. Administrators make final decisions. And that's kind of what you're looking at.
Right.
There.
You have the closest thing to a chief executive in a governor.
Exactly.
Right? And I think, quite honestly, whether you hated Clinton, loved Clinton, whatever, Clinton worked together with Newt Gingrich, and they balanced the budget. They got people off of welfare.
They actually
and oh, by the way, the Republicans did exactly to a great degree of what they're doing to Trump now. They had Clinton haters. Not that Clinton was doing a bad job, it's because he was actually doing a good job. They impeached the guy. The guy was a sexual scandal, this and that. But we have a precedent where you hate somebody more than you love the country. And unfortunately, I remember Dick Armey. You know, when Clinton came out after he lost the House and the Senate, said the day of big government's over, I'm going to work together and we're going to get welfare to work. And he did it. Dick Armey's on a show called Crossfire. Remember that on CNN?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of saying, way to go, Bill, way to go, Mr. President, you're finally doing the right thing. You know what the guy said? God rest his soul. Talking about dead people. But he wasn't alone. A lot of the Republicans at that time started saying, he stole our ideas. He stole our ideas. And I'm sitting there going, do you have the sense God gave a mule? It's not about you and your ideas. Say, hey, way to go. You changed. This should be a model for all of you far left Democrats of what you should do for the greater good of the country, but they blew it.
Yeah, if it's a good idea, it's a good idea.
Yeah. Why not say, stay in Mexico policy was a good policy?
Mm-hmm.
If you said that as a Democrat, you know what? You're not going to lose any of the wokesters because they're not going to vote for a Republican. All you're going to do is get more of the clear-minded, clear-thinking Democrats and independents that are going to say, hey, I get that. Yeah. I didn't like Trump, but the stay in Mexico policy was good. Lower taxes, more money in our pockets.
Well, and figure out what you're going to do so you can solve the problem.
Yeah.
You know, we need workers here because we have Americans that won't take jobs. So we need workers. So you need to find a way to do it so everybody wins.
Larry, you said something to me last week. You said there's a difference between tolerance and advocacy. Okay, you tolerate, but and for some people, in terms of the trans issue, the trans agenda, there's tolerance, respect for the people, but then when you expect folks that are, say, tolerant, that feel that it's not that a man is born a man should stay that way, what have you, that you tolerate, but you want the advocacy. Now go out and promote for people to do that who may be considering or confused about gender reassignment, that sort of thing. The same thing with politics. Why can't you support a certain policy decision, yet say, I don't advocate for this president on these other issues? Yep. Why can't, isn't that what it's all, isn't that the very definition of compromise? Is if you compromise means you've changed over, you've made a deal to try to move whatever endeavor it is forward for the greater good of the whole.
Well, you look at
otherwise you say, well, I'm all in, there's no compromise if you 100%.
You look at the value of an idea, not the origin of the idea.
They call it death by authorship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if somebody came up with it, if Trump came up with the cure for cancer,
it'd take 10 years to implement.
Well, didn't Kamala Harris is on record saying if Trump has anything to do with vaccines, the creation of vaccine, I'm not sure I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
She's on record on video saying that. Basically, it might work, but this man had anything to do with it.
But that's a selfish point of view.
isn't that living beyond selfish? Isn't that a little bit crazy?
It is. Yeah.
And I'm not. That's
too bad.
Insane.
When did we stop looking at good ideas and start measuring them by who said it as opposed to whether it works?
Yeah, and these are the same people that will dismiss faith healing and saying you got to embrace what the doctor says, not your own faith, or you're a dummy.
Yeah.
How can you how can you listen to those pastors? How can you listen to the Bible? Now, to me, I'm going to probably take the medicine. I'm going to do the operation.
Well,
but you don't say, hey,
the Lord said we would have jurisdiction and dominion over the earth. Well, that means that the things that are in the earth, we have the chance to create solutions to them.
And along with the responsibility.
Yes.
Right?
Obligations go with it.
Good stewards of it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Larry, I want to get your feelings on Vivek Ramaswamy, the surge he's making. He's an interesting fella.
Yeah.
We'll get your take on it when we come back. We'll be right back. This is Alan Autry, No Retreat.
So good. So good.
You'd like to be able to do that just one time like James Brown.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, just go one.
I've done it, but it's been in the bathroom.
Have you done it really? Have you? You imagine Larry?
Yeah, I feel good.
What did Dot do? Larry, you're feeling
in the other room, couldn't hear it.
Then you're not doing James Brown. Did you say, Larry, you're feeling a little bit too good?
Yeah, really.
Nobody feels that good going to their Office of Education.
That's good. You know what was fun, folks? Alan was mayor when I was county superintendent, and we didn't see each other as competition for each other. We saw each other as a chance to work towards some common goals and good things that would help everybody. And I think that's the difference with what's going on now is people don't look for collaboration. They look for, a chance to be at each other and to promote myself rather than to promote the greater good.
And they will never, it seems like, understand the joy of working together for something, to winning as a team.
It's amazing.
If you talk to athletes that win MVPs, scoring titles, home run titles, almost to a person, athlete, they say, I would trade it all for a championship ring.
Yeah.
To be part of a champ. Charles Barkley never had a championship ring.
Yep. Exactly.
And you could tell he
talks about it a lot.
Yeah. To have that team. I know the moment of my athletic career that I remember the most was not making the Green Bay Packers, not my college football days when I was 10th in the nation passing as a sophomore. I remember our 1968 Valley Championship, Small Schools Championship, Riverdale beat Orosi.
That's right.
We got in that locker room because for that moment, we could say as a team, we'd run together, work together.
We did it.
Thrown up together, running those gassers. Went through so much together.
Yeah.
And on this night, we can say we're the best.
Yeah, I love it. There's something unique about seeing somebody else do well that you're working with.
Yes.
And
I
like that.
Somebody once said, the only thing better than you succeeding is seeing somebody you love succeed.
Yeah.
Somebody you like succeed.
I think I have 13 former folks who were employed by me, working with me, that are superintendents. And there's nothing better than seeing them doing really well. You
got disciples all over the place, man.
Well,
see, if you were back in the day, trying to help, Jesus with the thing, you would say, he's got that's good news.
Yeah,
you would have, you could say, there's Peter, John, Matthew. Now that's good Jews.
Yeah, that's good Jews.
Now that's good Jews. They're all my Jewish brethren. Love you all. Stay strong. I know you're dealing with some stuff over there. Well, let's go back on the air. We'll send a because we got Colonel going over there to Israel. I want to go to Israel. You been to Israel?
I have not.
We got to go. That bucket is getting close, man, to us. It's a little bit too close.
That bucket's empty.
Somebody take that bucket a little bit farther away from me.
All right, here we go.
All righty. How's about cooking something up with me? Oh, stay with us, Larry. Hey, sweet baby, don't you think maybe we can have ourselves a brand new recipe? All right, one more now. I got a hot rod Ford and a $2 bill, I know a spot right over the hill. There's soda pop and the dancing's free. So if you want to have fun, come along with me. Say, hey, baby. Well, I'll tell you, we're probably already off on
that
Facebook.
song would never have made it.
I'll bet.
We were saying that.
Died at 29, Hank Williams.
Yeah.
His songs, you would think an old man wrote them.
Yeah,
The life.
absolutely. Yeah.
Heartbreak, man. He was.
You got to remember, too, your life expectancy wasn't as good then.
Yeah, especially you were drinking like a pint of vodka a day, and you were news
Hey, sweet baby.
Died in the back of a limousine at 29 years old.
That's something.
On New Year's.
Ah.
What a great artist.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so lonesome I could cry.
Yeah.
I Saw the Light.
Yeah. I saw the light. Yeah.
Okay. We were going to talk about Vivek. Go Drain the
Didn't
Swamp.
know this was a music show.
It's everything. It's free for all every day of the week. Man. I got radio ADD. Speaking of the Ukraine war, no. Let's go Ramaswamy. What do you think about it? Is he viable? Does he have a shot, number one, to get the nomination of the Republican Party? And then if he does, number two, is the world ready for a 37-year-old millennial Hindu? And I'm going to spend some time tomorrow, we might get to it today with Larry being a man of faith. Some people have their opinions on that. I have my own, and I'd like to share them with you. But Larry, is he viable? Is he got a shot?
Trump proved that anybody is viable. All right. So here he's running, and everybody laughed at the possibility of him becoming president. And I think America is at a point that we don't trust people like we used to. We don't hold values as high as we used to, which has opened up the arena for people to be more interested in voting for people they never would have before. And as a result, I think anybody who can make a good case, and Vivek, I think, is making a good case for the energy, for the willingness to look at things, to speak the truth, to do things like that. I think he becomes a very viable candidate. Part of it will depend, and as you know, in national politics, it's the machine, the organization that can do the groundwork that has a big impact on an election. It's in a municipal election, it's personality, it's connection, your next door neighbor, that kind of thing. But you have to have the walkers, you have to have the workers, in a national election.
As part of it, Larry, do you not think, and I don't know the 100% answer to this, but I do know that times, as Bob Dylan says, times they are
changing. Yeah.
And is walking, doing the grassroots work, if you will, going door to door, robocalls, all that stuff. Yeah, that's very, it's needed if you can go door to door, but as a president candidate, it's hard to do that. You go to Iowa, go to the fairs and try to touch the people, go to pie eating contests.
Go to your primary points.
Yeah. Go to the, corn dogs and pie eating contests. And advice to candidates, do not get into contests with Chris Christie on either one of those. You will lose and lose bad. But isn't how you navigate and utilize the internet, YouTube, podcasts, guests on, some would say obscure podcasts, but they reach millions that the average voter, like our age, don't even know about. That Ramaswamy is a master.
Very good at it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of
Barack Obama.
Is there not like maybe a cyber grassroots system out there that you have to tack into?
Very much so. Barack is a good example of changing it from media to streaming, and that's the first politician who really utilized streaming in that kind of way. Mm-hmm. When I ran for office, I wasn't the best known. I wasn't, didn't have a lot of money, but I crafted a message, sent it out to 300 people that had, accounts. They then recrafted it and sent it out.
I remember that.
And I was one of the first to do that locally. And it made a huge difference. I ran for less than $25,000.
Oh, and for polls,
and won.
Well, in polls, you had it wrapped up.
Yeah,
way before even the election day started. You had it wrapped up.
Yeah, it was interesting. So it is powerful. We used to think walking. We used to think television. We used to think, and now we're thinking streaming. I think streaming has far more impact because you can get to everybody often and no cost.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big difference. And Brock proved that with
And-
all of the people he contacted.
And younger people are starting to show up and vote more.
They are.
So he's got, I think, a distinct advantage over, I wouldn't say Tim Scott is, he understands that world, but people like Mike Pence, Nikki Haley, I know they have
Doesn't it
probably
feel like
people
slow
around,
motion when you hear them?
you know, there's
I
definitely,
like what they say.
Yes, there's definitely,
It's like out of sync.
well, you see a torch that's passing. Are you either going to adjust? Don't violate your basic principles,
No.
but can you evolve? It's like a football coach. Players are different than they were 25, 30 years ago. You could tell a guy 25, 30 years ago, get your head out of your butt and get out there and do the job.
Yeah.
And
Scream at them.
It's effective.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you do that, 90% of them are going to shut down. You'll probably get fired because
or if you're the Washington Commanders,
yes,
you argue about your
coordinator.
So
So if you're a guy like Bill Belichick, but I think a better example is my friend Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll and I were teammates at the University of Pacific. He's evolved. He's always been a player-centered coach.
Very much so.
But you see the coaches that have survived, and because you see that torch, I think when Bill Clinton, using him as an example, when he got up, I forget, on Tonight Show with Jay Leno and played the sax with glasses on, you had old schoolers going, "Oh my God, I'm not going to vote for that crazy idiot."
Yeah.
Yet he got people that turned out and said, that's pretty dang cool.
It is.
And he was able to unseat.
I mean, your
popular.
Your listenership goes up every time you sing.
Yes, it's a case in point. If I ever run for dog catcher, I'm going to win. It might be by the thinnest of margins, but I could win. I could win dog catcher. I feel confident I could do that. Well, I think here's the thing with Ramaswamy. I like him. I like him. I think he's sincere. Here's my concern. Certain blind spots or certain things you don't have a grasp on, if it's small in nature, not as consequential in nature, you can get by with that and learn. But if it's fundamental in nature and you are off on the wrong path, it's very difficult. If it's a foundational thing. I mean, if somebody's talking about, hey, we need to go back to make America great again, okay? Back in the past when, honesty meant something. You had secure borders. You had unburdensome taxation. Inflation was down. Transportation, we need to drill. We've got to go back to the old days, and I'd like to go back to the horse and buggy days. You go, wait, are you? Yeah, I want to go back to horse and buggy. You you lost me on all these other things. I'm with you, but that's so fundamental, even though it might be romantic to think about. We're not going to go back to the horse and buggy days.
Not going back to the outhouse.
Yes, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
And you, no, I think this is fun. We can do that. We will stop emissions. We can go because we'll stop the horses from farting. We'll find some way, and it'll be best for the environment. I'm committed to that. You got to ask yourself, well, hopefully that individual changes, but with that kind of mindset, continue.
Yeah.
Not quite to that point, but in the same vein I have with Ramaswamy, with his philosophy and his ideology and his mindset on dealing with Russia. He's against the war in Ukraine, and which I'm against because we can't win it. You're not going to beat two superpowers who collectively have 3 times the nuclear warheads we do. And if you ever get close to victory there, they're going to consider it an existential threat, and they will let battlefield nukes go. And then you'll be at the place you should have always been from the beginning, and that's at the negotiation table. That is my firm belief in what's going to happen over there. It's just how many lives are lost before you get there. How far do you push the world to the brink of nuclear disaster? But he says he wants to decouple Russia's relationship with China. He sees China as the single number one threat to the United States of America. He can do that, deliver that. He's eloquent and exciting when he does that. The fact of the matter is, you are not going to decouple Russia from China. They are in it forever because of common sense. Geographically, you're not going to decouple us from Mexico, no matter how much you try, because it's right next door.
Right.
You're not going to decouple us from Canada. They're right next door, regardless of what's going on there. So I think there's a naivete to not only counterbalance his inspirational demeanor and has otherwise very solid policies on many, many things. I like the guy, but unless he can figure that out, but why? There's too much at stake. That war could wind up bankrupting this country. It's going to likely spur China making its move on Taiwan, although I don't think that'll be militarily. But what do you think about that, Larry? I think it's just it's kind of astonishing naivete, and he brings it up, and you can tell he's so eager that he feels he can go over there and make Russia, Vladimir Putin, throw Xi Jinping the dogs and come on America's side. There's cultural things that Russia's just not going to do. They're never going to embrace gender neutral ideology.
The war in Ukraine is a good example.
Go ahead. You go with this.
Yeah, the war in Ukraine is a good example because Russia is trying to bring them back into the fold, So they didn't like the separation of all of those countries that left Russia.
And what do you say to Putin and the other folks, which about 80% support him over in Russia, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Because they have a different history.
Yeah,
we haven't lived their history. What do you say to them when they said, well, you did it. You did the same thing we're doing. Well, what do you mean? Well, you had 11 states that wanted to secede from you and become their own country, and you didn't let them. Why? Because the preservation of the Union was more important. Well, the preservation of the Russian Federation, the Russian Empire, was that important to us?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you answer that?
Yeah.
How do you say, well, you're barking up the wrong tree because we're good at
Ignore our history.
Yeah, do as we say, not as we've done.
Yeah, let me tell you one of the biggest concerns I have.
I'm not for Putin. No. I'm tired of this crap because I look at this logically and I tell you the truth. There's nothing we can do about China if they invade Taiwan. There's nothing we can do to stop that. Yeah. Sooner we accept that, the better we're going to be off as a country. But I do not support that invasion. I'm just living in the real world. We're not fighting enemies in a pre-Hiroshima, pre-atomic bomb, pre-Oppenheimer world. We're after that. You have to change your tactics, and you have to find a way to coexist with bad people. Mm-hmm. Because you know what? Those bad people have enough nuclear weapons, not only to blow us up, but the whole world about 1,000 times over. Go ahead, Larry. I had to get that.
Yeah, no. One of the things that I think is my biggest concern with a neophyte in politics is if you've not been in any of the leadership roles, governor, or mayor. Mayor, I think, is more important than senator in terms of leadership. So mayor, governor, and those kinds of things, or one of the statewide offices that is a single office, kind of thing, treasurer and those kind of things, where the buck stops with you. It
truly stops.
Yeah, it really does. I worry about your ability to adjust because what it means is you're going to be more susceptible to those insiders in Washington who understand the system and to listening to them and doing what they say, so you get no change. You really don't get change. So someone who is as vivacious as Vivek is and wants to make some differences, I think it's really hard to do when chipping in your ear all the time is, we don't do it that way. We don't do it that way. You can't make the Senate do that. You can't make the House do that. You have to work through this mechanism to make it happen. I think it's really hard if you've never been the leader who has faced that kind of thing. For example, you with city council, you had to negotiate some things to make it work. If you've not been the negotiator to make it work, you don't know how it works.
Yeah. And if you haven't been under pressure,
it's hard. Very hard.
Every quarterback can call a great play in the huddle.
Yep.
It's when you get to the line of scrimmage and you have to snap the ball. You get up there and there's 60,000 people watching you live, several million.
And 10 other guys there that either do or don't do what you want.
And when you say the snap count, that ball's going to be snapped into your hands. Yep. And there's all those people are going to make a judgment on your decision, where you go with the football, whether you succeed or not.
Yep.
That is not a normal thing for a human being to process and endure. You have to learn that.
Your knowledge is different.
You have to learn to handle the pressure. You got to learn that failure is going to happen, and failure is not failure if you learn from it. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to take the heat. All of those sayings apply, and you have to. I don't say you have to. I don't. Maybe some people are anointed, and I believe there could be people just anointed with that type of strength, that type of leadership.
Yep.
But usually, most mortal people have to work
Gotta
their
learn
way
something.
up. Exactly,
Yeah.
about
Well,
accountability.
then the stands
and
aren't
not
going
be
to
fearful.
The stands aren't going to blame that offensive tackle for a mistake.
They're not even going to see it.
They're not going to know it.
Exactly right. And then
When you watch football, and when I watch football, I look at a lot of different positions. I don't. Just
I'm starting
follow.
to do that. I
Yeah.
didn't before.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I got cut by the Packers. I needed. But now I'm starting to watch the DBs, the formations.
I want to see.
Why didn't I?
Yeah. What did this one person do that contributed or didn't contribute to the play? I like that. Seeing the inner workings of what's going on. It's easy and restful just to watch the quarterback.
Yeah. If you take that analogy a little further, the one thing you want to have active feet as a quarterback, but you don't want to have what they call happy feet. Happy feet denotes that you're just nervous. You're putting around it. Yeah. I had happy feet quite a bit, and there was a lot of happy feet on the stage during the Republican debate.
Oh, big time.
They had happy feet. All of them. DeSantis had happy feet. They all did. Some of them were trying to pretend that they didn't, but they were like the duck on the water. Pence was like smooth. You saw the duck on the water, but underneath the duck, those feet are going like that. I guarantee you, if you got below that podium, you would have saw Pence's feet going like that, like the duck in the water. But anyway, leadership, it's tough. But Vivek, I think he's great. Don't you think he's good for the whole political process to have this guy come out, look the way he does? Those veneers he has on, he's too young to have veneers. That's white teeth.
I think those are his white teeth.
Man, that's amazing.
But
teeth,
he's had them treated. I'm
man,
sure.
I tell you, he's talking about lighting up a room. I need some sunglasses on there to do what? But he has fun. He knows his stuff. And here's the one thing why I really like him. I believe he's sincere in his beliefs.
Yep.
I'd rather have somebody sincerely believe that he can talk Russia out of leaving the China sphere, and then him learn. No, maybe that's not the.
But maybe he can push that envelope a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he's willing to try.
Right. And then, because I'm going to say something right now, too. Strategically, and the sooner we figure this out, the better. It's going to save a lot of lives. Everybody thought Ronald Reagan, when he came to office, because he talked about stopping the Soviet Union, addressing the Soviet Union, facing the Soviet power, and defeating it. They thought military. Just like when Jesus came, not Jesus, but I think things are a good analogy. When they were waiting for the Messiah who was going to free the Jewish people from bondage. From the Roman bondage, physically. Yeah. What Jesus came was to give them freedom from within. Mm-hmm. Their soul, their freedom from sin.
Yeah.
Well, Reagan had zero interest in facing the Soviet Union militarily. That was the last thing. He was going to win the Cold War by being smarter economically, by having an economy that was vibrant, that unleashed the entrepreneurial spirit of the American people. He was going to export that around the country and win other countries over, like he did in Western Europe, on the positive worldwide application of capitalism. How it's lifted more nations out of poverty than any other system.
Yep.
He's lifted countries out of poverty that communism threw them into. Okay? And so he was able to win the Cold War, where Gorbachev tapped out because they couldn't afford to keep up with the United States on weapons and everything else. We're entering another Cold War against the BRICS coalition: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and quickly more and more African countries. You just saw Gabon, I think is the name of the country in Africa, that just a dictator just took over there. Niger, the military took over. These are countries that have picked a side. We're going with BRICS. Why? Because BRICS says it's okay. We'd rather deal with someone who can control their population. We're strong people. And we're going to give you this amount of money. And we're going to let you industrialize. The United States wants to keep you as just an ag base. They don't want you industrialized. Why? Because the new Green Deal says you're going to emit too many greenhouse gases in Africa. We can't allow you to better your life. Here comes the BRICS coalition going, these people are so elitist in America. Not only do they want you to fail economically, they want to get rid of mommy and daddy, no mother, no father, the nuclear family unit that you happen to have in every African country just about. They want to get rid of and force you to support it. You lose that battle culturally. You lose the battle economically. I got news for people. We don't have a lot of friends, real friends, around the world anymore. They're not buying what present day America is selling. And here comes BRICS, and we better wise up and get ready to win another Cold War. And the thing is, can you outmarket? Do you have a product to sell to the world that the world wants over what China, Russia, Brazil, India, a superpower right now,
largest nation in the world,
has joined that?
Yeah.
You didn't see the picture. They are all at the BRICS, the first annual BRICS conference, and they all got that picture with the hands up holding each other. And there's Omandi, is that his name? The head of India. Over there, the head of South Africa, Brazil. They got this guy Lula over there, about as far left as you can get. He's right over there with Che Guevara. He's heading up Brazil now. I mean, there's some dangerous stuff happening here. We better get our act together, get back to our traditional values, which sold well around the world. Why? Because they were good for people. They put people first.
Yeah.
Larry, what do you think? Let's take one quick break. When we come back, gosh, we got a whole list of things. I feel like a mosquito in a nudist colony. Where do I begin? Have you seen those aliases?
Yes.
The vice president? We'll probably touch on that. But I guarantee you, when you come back, we'll be talking about something interesting, I think. It's Alan Autry, No Retreat with Larry Powell. We'll be right back. You know, like that. They're trying to just demonize you.
Oh, yeah.
You look, you're not going this man what he did in 9/11, what he did. We can come back anytime, Jeremy.
I've got a funny quote from Reagan. We'll go right to it.
Oh, the Jackson. Well, let's go to Reagan. We have time for the tragedy there.
All right, I'm all good.
All righty.
All right, here we go.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
Man, that's a hardcore stanky song, isn't it, man? I tell you, I love it. It just reminds me of the Vietnam War. The reason I love it, it's just great song, number one, but it did adequately describe the Vietnam War. That's why I don't want another one over Ukraine.
Send you back to a time and place that
I don't want to go back to it. I mean, I love the song.
Yeah.
And God lets the songs hit you, I think, for a reason. I think that one hits me is to do your best with whatever little platform I give you, Carlos Allen Autry, to urge people not to make the same horrific decisions that were made causing of the Vietnam and Ukraine.
Before
now
you
we
go
were
into
talking about Ronald Reagan. You have
Yep. I got a good quote from Ronald Reagan. I've left orders to be awakened at any time in case of national emergency, even if I'm in a cabinet meeting. So, the one thing he had the ability of was disarming people. Yeah. And I think Vivek has a little bit of that. Not, obviously, he's not a Reagan, but he has a little bit of that. He comes at you from a left hook, and you weren't expecting it.
Yeah. He quotes Reagan a lot.
Yeah. He does. He was a model for him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think he's trying to do, what Reagan did with Gorbachev.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a different where you're not going to, diplomacy, I'm all for that. So I'm not being hypocritical here with this. I'm not saying don't sit and talk with Russia and do business with Russia and China. There has to be parameters.
Yeah.
And bring production home so you're not dependent on it.
Just don't fly on a plane that has an enemy of Putin.
You better, you better, well, they said like in Russia, the 3 causes of death, 3 top causes, cancer, heart disease, and crossing Putin.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in that order. It's, boy, you knew he was dead man walking.
Oh, yeah,
man.
No doubt.
I have a theory on that, though. I think he went a little insane. Yevgeny Prigozhin. We know Putin's out there. He's brilliantly insane.
Mm-hmm.
But,
he's smart.
Most
and
dictators are like that.
And he takes all kinds of risks.
Yeah, but I think this guy, because he was out there on the battlefield on the front lines with his men, dealing with this, and I just think he got shell-shocked, and they knew they had to get rid of this loose cannon, and you see they strategically, whoever it was that brought him down, and I'm not going to judge, Putin's bad enough. Was it Ukrainian espionage that put the bomb on there? I mean, they're going to find out, or at least we're going to hear from the Kremlin what they say happened. There's always the possibility that somebody else took him down, but I find it kind of odd that he not only took him, but his top team.
Yeah.
The second, third in command in the Wagner group went down on that plane as well with a young lady who was the host, so she felt bad for her. She obviously.
That's why 5 brothers can't serve in the same arena in America in war.
That's a Saving Private Ryan deal.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, you know what? We're going to go to what they're trying to do to Rudy Giuliani, just wipe out what he did for America in 9/11 and what he did to New York to reduce crime. But we got about 5 minutes left. I'd rather, Larry, get your thoughts on this tragedy in Jacksonville, where this white supremacist, absolutely racist white guy, opened fire, killed 3 people, could have killed more, thank goodness, to a security guard who was at, I guess, one of the schools there.
Mm-hmm.
The murderer met him at the entrance. For some reason, the murderer left and went and killed 3 black people. Clearly, his remarks online, his remarks to other people, clearly a disturbed person. But once again, here you got the opportunistic woke left bringing up the systemic racist problem. There's nothing systemic about this outside of systemic mental health issues. You can't label. Yeah, it is sad. There are racists out there, but this is no more a reflection of systemic racism than Darrell Brooks, a black man, mowing down 8 white people at a Christmas parade in Wisconsin on having made anti-white statements. I'm not saying there's systemic racism with black folk that want to run down, and trans people. The trans individual that shot 8 or 9 rather, and I think it was 6 of them were 9 years old at a Christian school in Nashville. I don't think this means there's systemic murderous trans people in the trans community. I know Caitlyn Jenner, she's not part of that. I mean, but yet when it's something like this happens, you get all these hate mongers out trying to, and they interviewed CNN last night. I saw Sheriff T.K. Waters, black sheriff of Jacksonville, had him on there, and they're ready. This guy's obviously, well, they didn't vet him good enough. And he says, what do they think about this racist act? He goes, is it white supremacy? Well, obviously, this man's white supremacist. He says, what is indicative of a bigger problem in Jacksonville? He says, I was just at a function the other night, and there was Jewish people, black people, white people. We all get along in Jacksonville.
Response.
He says, this is an outlier.
Yeah.
This guy was an outlier. I don't think there's systemic racism in Jacksonville or Florida. Larry, he got 1 segment. They went to commercial break so fast. What's your thoughts on that? I'm getting the last 2.
Sure. You know what happens is if you don't meet the expectation, you don't get to stay.
The narrative.
Yeah,
if you don't read the script.
No, exactly. And here's the thing to be aware of, folks. Message of hate from one individual isn't a message of hate from America. And I just think it's really important that we call it what it is. And it's an individual, the Brooks, or all of those cases that you just named. It's individuals that are out of it, that are completely in the wrong. It's not America that is in the wrong. And we've just jumped to the wrong conclusion.
Well, these people that highlight that tragedy, horrible tragedy.
That's a weakness on their part.
Well, they magnify it. It fits their narrative.
Yeah.
Yet they won't say a word about the 41 black people that were killed in Chicago, black youth, in the month of August.
Yeah.
1 month.
And black on black crime.
Well, I guess you're not quite as dead if you're killed by a white person.
Yeah.
There's something less egregious about a black person killing another black. How racist. There's something more egregious if a white kills a black or a black kills a white or a trans kills a Christian or a Christian kills a trans, there's something more dirtier about that, about murder. There's degrees of horrificness. What kind of world is that?
Yeah.
What kind of mindset is that? To even let that creep into your mind that something's not quite as bad. That you have a jury that said a black man can cut off the head of his wife who's white, and we're going to even the score by letting him go free. I'm talking about O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
What did that do? You had most black people, and I don't think that jury was indicative of what most black people think. I know it wasn't. But and you get and it's same, yeah, absolutely. The white jury back in the day when they convicted young black men for a rape he didn't commit, and that white, yeah, but that doesn't make it more egregious or less egregious than 41 black youth shot down in the prime of their life, mostly by other black men.
Yeah. Well,
I just don't get it.
We've
I
lost
don't get
our values center, and I think until we get it back, we're going to continue to see these outliers are going to become common.
That's why Martin Luther King said, "You judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin." You have to have a colorblind society if you're going to have a civil society.
Yep.
Larry, thank you for joining us, buddy.
Enjoyed being with you.
God bless y'all. Just do your best. Let God do the rest. And good Lord willing, we're going to see you tomorrow on Thunderous Thursday.